Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about something that really affects many people living with diabetes, but we rarely, as persons living with diabetes, discuss this openly. It's not about high blood sugar, neither is it low blood sugar, it's not diet, and it's not medication, but something that is equally important, and the term is diabetes distress. Before I recorded this video, I listened to some very sad stories from persons living with diabetes back home, and these stories were of pure emotional exhaustion. Stories of feeling completely overwhelmed, and stories of people intentionally skipping their insulin because they were simply tired of carrying that burden of diabetes self-care management every single day. As someone living with type 1 diabetes myself, these stories really hit me differently because I can totally relate to the way they were feeling when we were having that conversation. Because diabetes distress is something that sometimes you cannot help, but you need to understand that it's not a sign of weakness. It is often as a result of you carrying a heavy burden for far too long without enough support from people around you. Now, I'm going to start off by giving a very simple definition of what diabetes distress is really. It is actually an emotional burden that comes from living with diabetes. It happens when the daily demands of diabetes start to become mentally exhausting. Like one, consistently or constantly checking your blood sugars, taking your medications, injecting insulin, counting carbs, paying for your diabetes supplies, worrying about complications, managing diabetes at work, at school, and even your place of business. Managing diabetes whilst raising a family also. And the most important one that I think affects a lot of people is when you're managing diabetes with very scarce resources. So over time, all of this that I have just mentioned, all these responsibilities can become too overwhelming for you as an individual living with diabetes. And when this happens, you just burn out. So it's sometimes it can be helped, it happens. So next I will talk about why diabetes distress is worse in many low and medium income country settings. For many people in the LMICs countries, diabetes management comes with additional challenges. Most people struggle to access insulin and oral diabetes medicines, and others can't even afford glucose monitoring supplies. Many communities have little or no diabetes education, and in most cases, mental health services are not available. So people experience stigma as well. Others hide away their diabetes condition from friends, some even their employers, and even family members. To be honest with you, this is even common in my own extended family. So it's something that I don't know how we're going to solve this problem. People thinking that living with diabetes is like the worst thing ever. And all that I have just mentioned creates that perfect storm for diabetes distress to develop. Honestly, there's a lot of suffering about diabetes distress silently. Now, let's talk about signs of diabetes distress. Um, this topic is so overwhelming, but let's it just hits me differently, especially after the discussion I had with persons from back home. But let's forge ahead. Like I said, we're going to talk about the signs of diabetes distress. Number one, you might be experiencing diabetes distress if you feel constantly overwhelmed by diabetes. Avoid checking blood sugars, you skip clinic appointments, feel guilty when your glucose levels are high, become frustrated with diabetes management. You feel burnout and then you stop taking your medication as prescribed. You're now intentionally skipping insulin or your oral diabetes medicines. You feel alone in your diabetes journey. If any of the aforementioned sounds vaguely familiar, please know that you're not alone. There are thousands and even millions of people living with diabetes that experience this same feeling. Now, let me go ahead and talk about the dangerous vicious circle of diabetes distress. First, it leads to burnout. Burnout in turn leads to less diabetes self-care. Less self-care leads to higher blood sugars. Then the high blood sugars now creates more frustration. This frustration in turn increases distress, and the circle continues over and over and over and over again. That is the vicious circle of diabetes distress. Next, I'm going to talk about how we as persons living with diabetes can actually cope when we have limited mental health support. Number one, very important, stop trying to be a perfect person living with diabetes. This number one point I have just mentioned was me years ago. I tried everything within my power as a human being to be that perfect person living with diabetes, and the mental overload was over the rooftops. So that is my first advice. You need to stop trying to be perfect with your diabetes. Perfection does not really exist in diabetes self-care management dictionary. And you need to know that no one has perfect blood sugars and no one gets diabetes right every day. Some days you tick the same boxes, next day you're getting a different result. So you can't get it right every day with diabetes. You need to focus more on your progress rather than perfection. Number two, you need to learn to focus on your small wins, and that is what I encourage a lot of people to do. Don't wait for a big win. No matter how tiny that win is, you need to celebrate it. It will even make you do more. So in a situation where you find or you feel overwhelmed by your diabetes, just simplify things instead of trying to fix everything all at once. Check one blood sugar at a time. Take one insulin dose, drink more water today, and go for short walks. Small wins actually build momentum into bigger wins. Number three, find your diabetes community. This is very important. So peer support can be honestly life-changing. So you can get peer support from support groups of persons living with diabetes. They come in other forms: WhatsApp communities, Facebook groups, and your local diabetes associations. Community groups often provide support that you cannot get in the hospital. Sometimes the most powerful words that you hear from support groups are, or rather is, "I understand," because I have been there too. That's those powerful words like carry a lot of strength and encouragement. So those are the positive perks that you get from a support group. Now let's talk about your feelings. So in the low and medium income setting, so many people are taught, oh, you have to stay strong and keep your struggles private. But carrying everything alone actually makes the distress worse. So you can try to talk to a trusted friend, a family member, your healthcare support, healthcare professional, your peer supporter. For me, I had very, very strong family support. So it helped me so much, and I still have that as I speak to you. My family supports me so much, and I also get that support from my healthcare professionals managing my diabetes care. You need to understand that sharing your burden does not make you a weak person, contrary to what people might think. It makes you human. You're human. So it's good to share your burdens. It will make you stronger and better. Now, let us try. This is the fifth point here. Try to separate ourselves from our numbers. You need to remember that your blood sugar reading is just an information. It is not any type of judgment. A high reading does not mean that you have failed as an individual managing your diabetes. A low reading doesn't mean that, oh, you are very irresponsible, or you took too much insulin, or you didn't eat enough to cover the insulin dose that you took. No, it doesn't mean you are irresponsible. Numbers are there to guide your decision making. They do not define your worth. Number 6, you need to build sustainable routines. By God, this helped me a lot. That is one thing I am grateful to diabetes for: building very sustainable routines. You need to know that diabetes is a marathon, but it's not a sprint. You need to create routines around you that you know you can maintain in the long term, not just for 2 weeks or 3 weeks and then you discard it. No, consistency actually beats intensity. And I repeat, consistency beats intensity. Number 7, very important as well, this 7th point. Remember why you started. So I'll give you pointers to think about. You need to think about your family. Think about your dreams, your career, your future, and your purpose. These reminders can actually help you reconnect with the reasons you continue showing up every day. Let me say something. Last year, for the first time in 38 years, I suffered diabetes distress. And one of the reasons that helped me reconnect were my family, the dreams I wanted to accomplish as an individual, and my future, and my career, and my purpose for being given an opportunity to a second chance at life. which is to help people globally who are struggling with living well with diabetes. When I sat down with my family, we had a discussion, all these reasons came flooding into my head. And I'm like, oh, if you're going to be here distressed about diabetes, then you're being a loser. You need to sit up, remember why you continue showing up every day as a person living with diabetes. And that was, or those were the reasons that helped me stand up. Looking at my kids, I said, no, they can't look at mom being down like this. I had to sit up and tell myself, you have your career ahead of you, you've got your future, you've got a purpose, you've got dreams, you've got a husband, and you've got 2 amazing children. So sit up and get a grasp of yourself. My message to anyone thinking about skipping insulin or oral diabetes medication: if you feel so overwhelmed that you want to stop taking any of your diabetes medication, you need to know this: you are not failing. You are likely carrying a burden that has become too heavy. So what you need to do, you need to reach out, you need to speak to someone, tell somebody how you feel. The answer is not to suffer in silence. The answer is support, because living with diabetes is hard enough. You should not have to carry it all alone. And my final thoughts today are: diabetes distress is one of the most overlooked complications of diabetes. Yes, you heard me right. It is a complication of diabetes. Yet it affects like your daily decisions, your quality of life, and your long-term outcomes. In the low and medium income setting, where access to mental health services remain mostly limited, we need to try and create stronger communities, better education, more peer support, and very safe spaces for people to come out and talk about that emotional side of diabetes. Because managing diabetes is not only about taking your insulin, it's not only about your diet, it's not only about your blood sugars, it's not also about your just keeping everything perfect. No, it is also about you protecting your mental well-being. And sometimes the strongest thing a person can actually do is admit that you're struggling. And that was what gave me so much joy with the people that I had a discussion with that prompted this video. They actually admitted that they were struggling and they reached out to me to ask for help. If you feel this video resonates with you, please, I need you to share your experience in the comment section. Your story may be exactly what someone else out there needs to hear today. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. This is me, as always, blowing reality-based diabetes education your way. And I hope that I actually did justice to this topic. And I'll see you all in my next video. Looking forward to your comments. I'll see you all. Bye.